Episode 3 of the podcast, the Dope Stroke podcast is here. Season 3. I'm so excited because Liverpool champions as we take this on. And we got the Skunk de la Funk here in America with me at the Bermuda Club, Mr. Ryan, the Bermuda Club. That's where we are today.
You're missing
I didn't know we had a new jingle. Are you going to do that at the start of every one?
If you want it, mate, I'll come up with a different jingle for next time.
Okay. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, you two are on a holiday, aren't you? Dazzler is on holiday. If you're listening to this on audio, Dazzler's got his Speedos on, he's got his sunnies on, he's got his bucket hat, his sun cream. He's out there living it up, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Feet up, cocktails at the ready. We're all good. This is living the dream.
I cannot wait for him to leave. I told someone yesterday after I got out of meeting number 768, I said, I can't wait for this arsehole to leave.
So I take it he's staying with you, Trottie.
Oh, mate, but it's like meeting after meeting after. Let's have a meeting. Let's have another meeting. Let's have a meeting. Why don't we have a meeting? Let's have a meeting. Let's eat. Let's have a meeting. Let's drink. Let's have a meeting. Let's just keep having meetings.
I'm making things happen here, Bubs. That's what I'm doing. Like I'm moving the needle, raising the bar. All those classic cliches. That's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm here. I'm here for 2 weeks only. You got to get in, blitz it, get out.
Okay, so I want to dive into exactly what you're doing out there, but before we get started, Trottie, have you lost weight? Because you look a little bit. I'll tell you what you look. You look $200 lighter.
Yeah, I thought he was doing that, and then I'm like, no, he's not. I know where this is going.
So Dazzler, why does Trottie look $200 lighter?
Because he keeps losing on the golf course to me. That's what keeps happening. And it's been a very joyous occasion. And I'm not even going to spend the $200. I think I'm just going to put it on a picture frame in the new office in the UK. And I'm going to remind myself of the time that I beat Trottie not just once, but twice. And it was freaking fantastic.
I have my usual rants to make. Here we
go.
You cannot claim, if you've got a handicap and you're playing amateur golf, you have to show evidence of the handicap, and then you have to freaking have played golf in the last, God knows, like 10 minutes or at least 3 weeks. Oh yeah, I played 10 years ago, and back then I was a 6, so I'm going to be an 8 today.
No. I have an official handicap, and I showed you my official handicap, and I haven't played golf. The last time I played golf was when I was in the States with you last October.
Then the next thing is we played a format of a game that was interesting.
It's actually quite a good game. It's called Ocean's 11.
It's quite a good game because if one person in the group can play golf and the rest of the people in the group just make believe handicaps, it's very difficult for the person who can play golf.
How do you play Ocean's 11 then?
So basically, it's down. You pick your.
This game has changed 3 times since we've been here.
Well, only Basically, over the course of the 18 holes, you've got to pick your 11 holes that's going to contribute towards your score. So 7 holes are discarded, and you only choose 11 of the 18 holes. But you have to choose the hole before you tee off on the next hole. So the first time we played, it was better ball basically, and then the second time we played, both scores had to count. So you had to pick your own 11 holes.
But you have a partner, which is where it gets tricky.
And you've got to decide, like, is this, if you've got a shot on the hole and it's for a net birdie, which Trottie was enjoying, all of these things kind of contribute to your score. That's why it's called Ocean's 11, because you're just picking 11 of the best holes that you played that day.
But we're not allowed to play off of the man's tees.
That's not my fault.
Because no one can hit it very far.
That's not my fault. My fault.
I hit it fine. I'll play off any tee you want. No, not allowed to play off those tees. We have to play off the
forward tees.
Yes. The forward tees. There's many ways to put that one in. But I'm having to hit 6 iron off tees. These guys hit 4 iron, 170 yards. That's what we're going up against. I'm like, how are you hitting 4 iron? I've got 8 iron.
Do you know what? When you fill out the scorecard, it doesn't say what clubs you hit. It doesn't say how you struck it.
But then I hit it on the green. They miss the green, chip up, make the putt, 3 net 2. Of course, I 2 putt, and then I lose the hole. That makes sense.
Don't make your problems my problems. All I know is that I'm $200 rich. I mean, this trip is definitely profitable for me.
Should we just move on?
No, let's not. Let's talk about it forever.
I don't know whether you two have got your chat open, but Lloyd's written married couple in the chat.
Oh, man.
So what have you been up to then, Bubsy? What have you been doing, lad?
I had a good week last week. One of my more enjoyable weeks of the year. So that's when I run my coaching trip to Spain.
Cool.
So we do like a 4-day, pretty intensive trip, really. I do it with Al, Al Davis. So we take 14 golfers, and it's good. We go to a place called Camaral in Spain. If you've been, you will.
Called PGA Catalunya, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you've been, you'll have known it as PGA Catalunya. I think it was changed about 4 years ago. But they've got 2 courses. I think last year, one of the courses was top 3, 3rd best in Spain, and the other one is 10th best in Spain. So they're both really incredible. Great hotel.
It's a Q school as well. Finals.
Yeah, and apparently they were in the running for the Ryder Cup going forwards, but the government pulled out for some reason. But yeah, we take 14 golfers, and they're just, we get. So this year we had guy from Canada, we had guy from Switzerland, guy from Scotland, guy from Amsterdam, just all over the place, from Lisbon. It's just great, and they all just come together, and we do like a 4-day. They play 3 rounds of golf. We do coaching, and they really look after us there. We've been back like 4 or 5 times now, so they kind of know what we're doing. Set us up on our own tee at the bottom of the driving range. Table of water, pyramids. We do some coaching. We get out and play. We watch them on the course. We do videos with them. It's great. It's really, really good. So it's hard. Like, they get a lot of information over a few days, and you think you're getting information on your swing. You then got to go and try and play. You then next day you're getting information on your short game. You got to process all that. You got to play again. So it's tough for them, but it's it's just a really good week.
Really good week. PGA Catalunya and that stag do.
Oh, you did win, yeah. It's because everyone else was hungover and you were the only one that was semi-sober and was there 2 hours before hitting balls.
Well, actually, Al said on one hole, he said he was playing with you, Dazzler, and you got to one hole and he said you had to go back and get a buggy because it was that hot.
Well, it might have been more like I was that hungover, but yeah. A combo of the two. To be fair, that was a while ago now. I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's
basically,
good.
The only way we were young, we had no cash, and the only way that we could fund this stag do was if I won.
Yeah, basically.
So I won, and then half the money with him.
Yeah.
Whose stag do was that?
Froggies.
Oh, is it Froggies?
Yeah, it's a while ago now. Hey, so with the golf schools that you do these guys just book individually, or do they come as a pair, or is it like, do they do it? How do they do it?
A bit of both, really. So, got a guy, two friends called Paul and Dave, who came together last year, came again this year, so they know each other. So one obviously wants to come, and he said to his mate. We had 2 guys from Switzerland last year who knew each other. So sometimes they come on their own, sometimes they come with a friend. We had a couple this year bring wives who didn't play, but there's a spa. You can get to Girona within 4 or 5 minutes. There's plenty of them to do. But we had 14 this year, and 8 were returning from last year.
Wow, that's good.
We know, so they all kind of knew each other. So it's a mix. It's a mix of like friends and that kind of stuff. But check this out: you'd be fuming. Paul and Dave, friends from down south, they came last year. They arrived on Tuesday morning, flew from BA with BA from London somewhere, no clubs.
No.
So they did the whole trip without any clubs, and they put some clothes. Yeah, the clubs turned up like the last day when they were leaving. So they had clothes in their flight bag, so they didn't have any clothes. That comes, we had to hire clubs anyway. So he was a bit pissed last year. So they came again this year. Same thing happened.
No way. Oh,
Flew with BA, no clubs. Only this time they left his clubs and his suitcase. So he had to rock into the shop and spend like best part of $1,000 on like clothes and shorts and belts and tops and that. And then his clubs turned up an hour before we left on Friday. So
nice.
2 years running. So BA, if you listen, sort that out.
Yeah, BA.
So what? I mean, obviously the airline just nothing, don't care.
But yeah, I mean, it's the time and effort, isn't it? So he was on the phone trying to speak to someone, but they reckon that they were getting on the plane, and they were going up the stairs. It wasn't like I don't know my plane terminology, but it was when you're on the tarmac and you're walking up the stairs, and their clubs were there right by the plane, and they were loading them all on. You can see his clubs, and it basically just got full. So like they squished the last bag on, shut the door, and just took the clubs off, and they're like, "Hang on, those are our clubs there."
At what point there then, like, does an air tag help you? Because I now air tag all my stuff. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know where they are, don't you? But I don't think it's. I mean, I think BA knew where they were, but it was just they weren't particularly good at getting them out there. So, look, I mean, touch wood, it's never happened to me. It's happened to you, losing clubs.
Well, I'll tell you a little story. This is a few years ago. I took a golf school out. This is years and years ago. I took a golf school out to South Africa. And
Is that Gerald,
anyway,
Gerald
we were
Travel?
about 2 hours. Gerald Travel, you got it. Took a golf school out, Gerald Travel. You know, you remember. I like that. Pops. Anyway, we're about 2 hours into like an 11-hour flight down to South Africa. And I've just sat down in my seat, just about to put my headphones in. And I hear a kid walking down the aisle with his father. And he says to his dad, he says, "Oh, Dad, I don't think I feel too well." Anyway, he throws up all over me, right? I've got my shoes. My shoes are out. Like, I've got my shoes off. It's in my shoes. It's down. It's everywhere. I mean, honestly.
I bet you had your golf shoes on with the spikes out as well, didn't you?
Damn right I did. Yeah. Full spikeless.
Just like you used to do, the nightclubs.
Exactly. You know, when I'm on the pool. Anyway, I then, so I've got ages to go on this flight. So anyway, land in Joburg, and my freaking bag doesn't pitch up. So now I'm covered in sick. I smell of sick, and I've got no clothes. We've got a 4-hour drive to get to the Kruger National Park, which we then do. And I've got to buy clothes. I've got to do all these things. But by the way, it's not easy to get clothes when you're in the Kruger National Park. So I end up going on the golf course with hired clubs, looking like one of the park rangers.
And you're hosting the trip.
And I'm hosting the trip. Yeah.
I thought you were going in a different direction. Then I thought you were going to say, and it's not easy to buy clothes when you're 5'1".
Well, that is true. That's also true.
So this episode is obviously all going to be about questions just from the followers, which I was able to gather some that came through the Instagram account that we run, which we appreciate you guys going with. So I'm going to kick off with a serious one. Do you think City's run in the Premier League is over?
Maybe a couple of games to go. You never know. They're fighting for a Champions League place, I suppose.
So this one has come in from Harris Wisdom, and do you chip with the same club or different clubs? I mean, that's got to be guided and aimed at you, Bubsy.
It's not an easy one to answer. That I think what you'd find is that if you took a cross section, the better the player, you generally find they are honing in on one or two of their wedges. So you look at the best players in the world, they're going to be chipping with probably their two most lofty wedges. But a lot of that is to do with the fact that the greens are firm, they're fast, and when they take a 60 and chip it onto the surface, it's reacting like a 7-iron would for Joe Public, who's playing in England. So I think better players tend to choose one or two clubs, but then you take those players, put them on St Andrews in the Open, and they're going right through the bag. They're using 8s and 9s and 7s and 6s. So I think you've got to be open-minded. You've got to be chipping with every club. What I would say is that if you're a handicap golfer and you're someone who tries to keep the same technique and vary the club, I think that's probably okay. But I think in practice, taking one of your wedges and learning how to do different things with it helps you develop a lot more skill and helps you in your longer-term development, because the best players in the world are seeing their wedges as tools than just a tool that's going to help them hit that low spinny one or that high floaty one. So I think all golfers use all clubs, but I think better players tend to gravitate towards one or two clubs, and I think that's probably better for familiarising yourself with that club, getting used to it, becoming almost best friends with it, and developing skill.
I think you'd need to do some research on this follow-up question. I mean, I have my take on it, but it's if you think Europeans are better at the short game as a whole than US players.
I mean, it depends, doesn't it? Because, I mean, you could argue no, because if I grew up in Europe and I'm playing on lots of different courses and then I get my PJ Tour card, I'm basically playing the same type of shot week in, week out. So the fact that I grew up playing 6-iron chip and runs, kind of pointless on the PJ Tour. So am I now at a disadvantage to the guys who grew up in the States having to play that all the time? I think in terms of shot variety, the Europeans maybe have a slight advantage, but 90% of the golf we watch on TV is kind of lob wedges around the greens.
My take on this is that there's a difference between a West Coast professional and an East Coast professional and someone from the South. And the guys who can chip in the south here are so good at controlling the low point. It's insane. And I think the easiest shot to add is the chip and run, because it's an extension of the putt. And the bounce of the club, which is obviously how the club goes through the turf, it's the curvature of the sole. In a 6-iron, you can put a hair of shaft lean in that and just get leading edge and play it like a putt. But where I'm conflicted is if you go to, and maybe I ask, so I want us all to list our top 3. If I went, I'd have to go to number 4 to get an American in my top 4 chippers I've ever seen. And it would be, I'm doing Seve, Alathabal, Shane Lowry, Tiger Woods.
I thought you were going to put Brett Rumford in there.
Not American, but yeah. So if we did it collectively a top 5, I think Brett would be the next one you add if he hasn't gone in before Tiger.
Yeah.
And just maybe go ahead of Shane, but like if you see the way that these boys chip, Jason Day, phenomenal Australian.
Yeah.
He maybe gets in ahead of Tiger. Sergio, phenomenal amazing. Spanish. So if you take the tip of the iceberg, they're international. But if you look at the way some of these American boys chip off of some of these grasses, it's the grass that makes it tricky. But someone's asking a general text there, which I think you answered very correctly, if that's the correct use of
well, you know, you
English
just make
language.
up your own language.
I was gonna throw a follow-up question back to you, Trottie, because there's going to be a lot of people listening to this podcast who are in the UK and they've just played a lot of golf in the UK. You could go around the UK and we don't really have different grasses. Whereas if you go to the US and you listen to someone talking about chipping, it's always in the conversation. It's I do this off Bermuda, this off bent. I mean, how big of a difference is that when you're playing different grasses?
It's a great question, and it is insane. And having not grown up here, in England, I was a great chipper of the golf ball. Here, it's the worst part of my game, without doubt.
What grasses do you have? You have Bermuda,
Koana, Rye, Kuya, Bermuda, Bent.
Yeah.
And there's probably
they're all different.
But what we have in England is grass.
We have grass, wet grass, mud.
Yeah. But, mate, I mean, chipping out here, and then you get it dormant at different times of year, like in the fall, so the autumn, and that's when you've got to bring in. So your original question is chip with the same club or chip with different clubs. That's when you've got to bring in the chip and run with the hybrid or the 5-wood. Like Rosie, that's Poana up there at Pebble Beach when he chipped in at the last. That was a 5-wood or rescue or something he chipped with there. Morikawa's made good use of that club. But even guys like Webb Simpson who just grew up in the south, and you get them on mate, if you don't strike it down there, you can't advance the ball. If you don't get ball first, now there's different methods because obviously Parker McLaughlin, short game chef, he likes it a bit shallower. But if you don't get steep on it and get some shaft lean and then get the loft open and take the speed out of the shot that way, you're chipping it again from the same spot. It makes you look a dick pretty quick.
Oh, that explains the life-like short game you have versus your personality then.
What interest? What I got, we haven't actually played a golf course so we played La Costa the other day. That was Kikuyu, that was Kikuyu. But you grew up.
Aviara wasn't. I grew up in Kikuyu.
Yeah, and so you were getting away with it. Today will be fine.
Getting away with it. I was winning money.
Today. You're going to be fine today. But he had a couple of chip shots, and I'm watching him thinking, this could go tits up here.
Stiff and both.
So next question is from a friend of ours called Jeff from Source Golf. Shout out to Jeffy boy. What would you say is the most pivotal moment of your golf career? Bobsy.
You want me to go first for that?
Yeah.
Right, well, I'm going to go coaching career because I feel like my golf career was not really that existent. But I've worked with some good players, right? But most of the clients I work with are amateurs who just want to get better. And the most pivotal point in my career was a guy who used to rock up at the Belfry. He'd hit balls in the range. There was a group of them who would always kind of hit balls together. And he was a great guy, Mark. So knew him quite well. He used to come 2 or 3 times a week. He played off like 18. And at one point he said, can I have some lessons? I was like, yeah, fine. So we started doing some lessons, and he said, slice the driver. He said, it's really annoying. I got the feeling that he just hated hitting driver, right? All his mates drew it. He sliced it, hated it. Played off 18. So we did some lessons. He typical face open, a bit steep. We changed his grip, and we did whatever. And then about 6 months later, he starts to get it a bit closer. And we're doing a lesson, and he starts to hit these shots that are pretty straight. He gets the odd one at the toe, and it turns over, and he's like made up, right? This thing's like drawing. It was pretty neutral, but a little toe strike, and he got it back. We're still doing some lessons, and then about a year later, he's talking to me about his golf, and he's like a different person. He's so happy, right? He's going to the golf course. He's like, his chest is out, his shoulders are back. He's telling his mates he draws the driver. He's like, he just loves it. He loves it, right? He's off 19. He's got worse. But it like really hit home to me that, like, as coaches, we drive this like, first lesson, what's your handicap goal? Like, he just wanted to hit a draw, and he was so happy. And it just made me realise that a lot of the people that I coach, it's an emotional lesson they want. It's like, I hate playing golf because when I get in the bunker, I can't get out. Can you get me to get out of the bunker? Or I keep missing 3-foot putts. And yeah, if you improve those, your scores might drop. But it's never the score that they're coming to me with. It's always this, like, I hate this shot. I can't hit that shot. I hate my slice. I top my irons. And it just made me realise that my job as a coach is to give them what they want, not for me to tell them what they should want.
It's good. It's good. I think for me, there's two. One you were there for, and that would have been Q School back in the first round of the second stage years ago. And I shot 74 playing horrendous. And then the next day I hit it the best I could and shot 74. And that was a pivotal moment, because if those 2 rounds had been different and I'd have been like, tour players get the best score out of what they've got on the day. And on the first day, that was the best score I could have hit. And on the second day, it was the worst score I could have hit. And at that point, after I'd shot a really good round in the third round, but moved on, went back, ended up back at the Belfry, and then was offered, I was actually offered it before, which was the other pivotal moment when I was basically secret shopper came in and offered me the job to go and work for TaylorMade. So that was the first change in the career. And when I look back to 2 rounds of golf that things could have been different, it was that 1 week at the Q School when I had the game. I was playing great and didn't get through to the finals to get as good a card as I could have got, which could have changed everything. And then obviously with TaylorMade, I went back to work effectively, which is a big change in your career. It's a big pivotal moment. But even the day just working at the Belfry with you boys and getting offered that job, that day changed my life for sure, and changed the path of what I was doing, to the point where I'm still very much on that path because of a life in golf.
I think for me personally, I've probably had a few moments which have kind of like added up, almost like climbing Everest. You get from one base camp to the next. But I think the one that really changed my trajectory was sitting on the sofa next to my wife, reading the Brewdog book and making the decision that I needed to go and start my own business. I think that was a key moment. But there were a lot of contributing factors that led me to reach that point. It wasn't like that was a pivotal point, but getting the job at TaylorMade, getting a job in golf in the first place years ago, meeting you boys at the Belfry, all the things that I was exposed to at that time, traveling the world with TaylorMade, getting connected with all these good players and all these good agents around the world. Like, there's been a lot of contributing things, but I think building upon that, the pivotal one that really changed my own outlook on the world was reading the Brewdog book, closing it, turning to my wife and saying to her, I'm starting a business tomorrow. And she said, the hell you are. That was the beginning of the story. And for me, that was a big moment and a lot of sacrifice after that. But that was the moment that changed my life for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because like Trottie was saying there about joining the Belfry, and that was huge for me because that introduced me to people and friends, and I'm still friends with all those people now, and being the Belfry was incredible. But I just think, when it comes to like pivotal moments, the story I told was like, it was almost like a eureka moment for me. It was like shit, like I'm going about this the wrong way. I'm trying to force people to try and get the handicaps down, and like that's not what people want. And I still now when I'm doing content on YouTube or I'm giving people lessons, I still think back to that person and think, if I can get this golfer to be happier about their game, like that's my job done. They might not play better, but if they're happier, I've done my job.
I think if you actually, that's a really good example where whatever you do, whether it's business, coaching, fitting, whatever you do, you got to solve a problem, right?
Yeah.
That's what the job is. It's solving a problem. And if you can do that better than anyone else, you're going to be great. And that's basically what it is. Nothing more, nothing less.
How intimidated were you? We talk about it a lot on this podcast naturally because it's where we've all met. But like the Belfry, how intimidated were you with that opportunity at the time? You're a young guy, you get the job. Granted, for you, different to us, you were a local guy, but still, you make that decision at your late teens, early 20s to do it. To be fair, it's changed all of our lives. How big of a thing was that for a young guy to take on? And what would your advice be to anyone out there who's listening to this, who's perhaps got these big decisions and they don't know where life's going to go? It's very easy now throughout the other side of it to go, well, that was the right decision. But we didn't know that.
Of course. And I think for me, it was probably less daunting than it would have been for you guys. Number one, I was a local guy, as you said. I lived probably an hour away. Number two, I was having lessons off Simon Wordsworth at the time. I've been having lessons for about 18 months. I knew Simon really well. I knew the facilities really well.
For context, Simon was the boss at the time, golf director, right?
Yeah, he was the one who's kind of masterminded everything. And then the third thing was that a really good friend of mine, and a really good friend of yours, Kevin Hale, he was also offered a job. So I was basically going to work at a venue I was familiar with for a boss who I knew with one of my mates. So it wasn't like, I know you guys like moved and travelled and it was like a bigger deal for you. It was still a big deal for me because we were 18, 19 at the time. But I think for me, it was a no-brainer because I'd taken up golf and I was like, golf is going to be my life. And like whether I'm playing golf, or whether I'm working in golf, whatever it may be, golf is going to be within my life. I'd kind of made that decision. I'd come to that conclusion. So then,
how early you made that decision?
Pretty soon. Like I started golf when I was about 13, and then by the time I was like 16, I was like all in. I actually started uni. So how old are you when you start uni? And I went to uni because that was the done thing, right? Everyone just went A-levels uni, and I just kind of followed the crowd. I never really wanted to do uni. I wanted to be within golf. So I signed up to uni, didn't go to a lecture. I was there for 6 months, didn't go to a lecture. I just went to the golf course and play golf. Because like in my head, I was like, "What?" I'm like, "There's no point me going to uni," and then I got offered this job. So I just think for me, it was like golf is the thing I want to do for the rest of my life. To get an opportunity to go to the Belfry, it's like there's no better place. So I am. Daryl knows this from working with me. I am quite I'm not a risk taker. I like to do things the safe option. I'm not particularly bold in my decisions, but that was like there was no other decision to make. It was like this has just got to be what you do. And that helped me a lot.
You stayed there longer than everyone else. Was that a panic moment, a weird, where everyone's left here, there's a new crowd in, I'm the established one? Did you think that it was going to go where it's gone now? And how did you create this? This being your brand online, for those that don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to a little bit of what I just said. Like, I am not a risk taker. So I went to the Belfry, met all you guys. We had a great 3, 4, 5 years where we all got really good friends. We used to socialise together, play golf together. And, like, for me, I loved that time of life. And when everyone else started going, like, there's bigger and better things out there, like you both did and other people did, I was thinking, like, don't leave. Like, I like what we've got here. And I was more of like, I would quite happily stayed. So I wasn't at that age. I wasn't as driven. I wasn't as much of a go-getter. But at that time, I was like doing club fitting and playing a bit. I hadn't found my thing. And then as soon as I got more into coaching, I was like, right, now I've found my thing. Now I can see a direction I want to go in. I can see where I can take my business. And that for me was when things clicked into gear, where like I would then start working 13 hours a day. Whereas before I didn't have the drive to do that. I didn't really have the sort of impetus to do that. So I think for me, I knew I wanted to work in golf. I didn't quite know where that was. And I just tried different things. I tried working in the shop. I tried working around the resort. I tried club fitting. I tried playing. Started coaching. And I was like, done it, found it, perfect, got my thing. And then it's just like
that place was great for that. It gave you a lot of different opportunities in a lot of different areas. I mean,
yeah,
I remember Dazzler working in the sales department at one point, which was interesting. What do you want to tell us what you used to say when you answered the phone?
No, you can. I know that you enjoy
you're
the moment.
close to the microphone there. So when we would phone, I want the full. I'm calling in the morning. What would it be?
I've got to think about this now. So I'd say you phone calling in the morning. I go, good morning. This is the Belfry. Daryl speaking.
And that was basically how that phone call went. And I'm sure he'd say something like, home of the Ryder Cup, how may I direct your call? Or what can I help? What can I sell you now, you prick? So, mate, you go out and you start teaching, and that's great. You're doing 13 hours a day, but then you start this social media channel. What was it then that was like, okay, I'm going to chase this? Was it the followers? Was it the money? Was it the, I want to educate more people? Was it my diary's getting bigger? And then I imagine at that stage, if you're coaching 5 days a week and you're full, which I imagine at the Belfry you potentially were, at what point do you go, I'm going to sacrifice a day of this revenue to put into this other product?
I think with the social stuff, what I found really early on with my coaching was like that story I told you was like, for me, going through PJ, I felt like it was drilled into me that lesson one, you needed to basically give them a little interview, and it was like, okay, what's your handicap? What's your goal? And you'd go, right, let's sign up for 6 lessons and we'll get you there. And I remember speaking to people and them coming for lessons, and you'd say, what's your handicap? And they'd go 18. And you'd go, okay, and what's your goal handicap? And they'd be like, their eyes would be like up to the right, up to the left, and they'd be going, 13. And every single time I'm thinking, you haven't got a number in mind. You've just pulled a number out of thin air because I asked you. And so I just really quickly realised that they didn't have a handicap goal. They didn't want to sign up for 6 lessons. They wanted me to help them then, today. Like, that was what I found. Like, people were coming in, booking a lesson. I'm not got a handicap goal. I'm slicing my driver. I'm going to pay you for an hour, and I want you to stop me slicing it. And it was those moments that I realised that actually people aren't coming in for lessons in a way that I was coached through the PGA. And that was when I started to put more content online because I felt like I could help people improve pretty quickly. And then that gets addictive because people give you that confirmation. They comment and say, this really helped me. Or I've never understood that topic until I watched this video. Or that's completely changed the way I go about my golfing. And those are things that are addictive. And even to this day, I just think there's so much bad information out there. And I see my job as to help people get better quickly and just get rid of the rubbish that's out there. Like I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but I see videos on Instagram, videos on social, videos on YouTube, and they're preaching things like, this drill takes the arms out the golf swing, or, use the body, no arms. I'm like, that's the worst information ever. I'm like, who wants to play golf without the arms? Like, and it's not like we're in a great position now. There's some super clever people out there with some great technology who can measure all this, right? It's not my theory. The arms are doing a hell of a lot through the golf swing. The wrists are releasing, the wrists are extending, the arms are rotating, they're swinging past the body. And there's coaches out there preaching, if you take the arms out the golf swing, you'd be better. And I'm just like, I see it as my job to convey the right information in a simple way where people can get better straight away. And that's addictive for me because I feel like I can do that. And that's just where the social stuff. And then it's like, why would I help one golfer when I can help a million?
Yeah, instant gratification, basically.
But it's not in a selfish way. It's more of a, okay, there's loads of people who need this, and then you put more out. And you're like, there is a hell of a lot of people who need this. So it's more like what underpins everything I do is how can I help golfers get better? And obviously, there's rewards that come your way, but it's more about how can I help them.
Do you think that club fitting falls in with the teaching? So you mentioned you got a club fitting background that you did as a younger pro. Has that now, when someone comes to you for club advice, has that impacted your knowledge and being a good teacher?
I think when I was at the Belfry, I was more up to speed with club fitting. I don't do it as much now, so I'm a little bit more reluctant to sort of give huge advice. I'd be more now geared around direct them to someone who I trust. But back at the Belfry, I was doing some club fitting. I felt like I could have that conversation. But I will tell you, last week, not last week, the week before, did a campaign with TaylorMade. We did a coaching trip, so it was 3 days: a day with myself, a day with Dan Grieve, and a day with Nick Doherty, back to back. So we did day one at the Belfry, and they got a lesson with myself and a driver fitting, like at the same time. And we had 3 people, and like they averaged, it was something like 37 extra yards and straighter, because it was the lesson of fitting together. And it was great because I know Dan, you probably know Dan Morris from TaylorMade, and we were like talking, and I was saying to him, right, I can get him here if you can then, get the driver to get him to sort of turn it over a bit more. And he was saying to me, well, I can give him a bit more loft if you can change. And it was like, it was so powerful. So I think
it has to be hand in hand. The best
yeah,
fittings.
100%. And it really surprised me at how big of an improvement we could make, because I was like looking at a guy going, right, I can probably get him like another 20 yards, but he's still cutting it. And then Dan's like, yeah, don't worry about that, I'll sort that out. And it was just really powerful how the two hand in hand.
Which I think is good, because it brings us to the next question, which has come from B. White Cotton.
Why you look at me like that?
Why, like, what sort of a name's that? Did you write this in?
No, I didn't write that in.
We got plenty of questions. I don't need you writing in fake accounts. It says, I strike my rescue, but can't find the same with my driver. Could I build a short driver?
Well,
now, I mean, I can lead it, but this with mini drivers has become a huge topic for sure. And there's one question at the end here that everyone's going to have input in on this podcast. But I mean, the bottom line is, yes, you can use a short driver, providing the balance point is right. But I think if you're connected closely with your coach, and that's the reason I asked you the previous question, then your coach can get you more efficient with the driver length in order to not lose that distance because of the longer lever that you gain from the driver length. Or if you came for a fitting with me, I would tackle both on the same thing for sure. If you have a tour player, a little different, because you've got to balance with the coach that's there, and they'll probably have a biomechanics expert there and a psychologist and a wife that's dependent on this character making money and a caddy that needs a job. So there's a bit more heat in that situation. But at the end of the day, I think for the modern golfer out there who is just looking for a quick fix, which we're not saying that Chris Ryan stuff is a quick fix, but it's going to get you better quicker, then yeah, you can cut the driver down to play a mini driver length in your driver or a rescue length in your driver. It's called a mini driver, but the swing weight and the balance point needs to be where it's at for sure. Which leads me to another one that I'm going to hit off of here, which is what's the effect of an iron shaft weight on the ball flight and the effects of grip weight? And it comes back to something that is swing weight. The balance point is everything in a golf club. If you tend to change the weights in the iron shafts, that's dictated by speed. So if someone has less speed, you might want to go lighter to get more energy and more speed through the club at which someone moves it. If you then start to go with different grip weights, providing the clubs have been made up to that weight, and we're talking with a grip company now that has a heavier grip. I mean, a quick story off the truck at the Open Championship, Wai Yang, back from the 2000s, Korean golfer, won a major, great, absolute baller, raised a golf bag above his head when he beat Tiger. I mean, what an iconic moment that was. But the bottom line is, the guy's weighing every grip that he's putting on the clubs because the club's already made up. He needs to make sure the balance point, the swing point is right. Does this impact you, the amateur? Can you feel that? I always bring it back to if you play a guitar and you change the strings. Like, I'm not a great enough guitar player to tell you how the different strings make an impact, but I'm a good enough golfer to know the differences in swing weights and weight because I'm around it. But I think if you go mid-size grip to regular grip to jumbo grips, you need to weigh those puppies before you stick those suckers on the golf club. And then, because I have the brightest spark of the three of us on this podcast just sat here looking at me talk about golf equipment, I'm going to ask a question, hand it over to you. I'm actually going to go and take a restroom break and let you kick this one off.
Okay. Restroom, is it? Definitely in America.
We're in the United States.
Yeah.
I've been going through this new teeth cleaning regime
Oh,
that's
yeah?
left me a little dehydrated, so I've drank most of this water, and to be honest with you, now I need a piss. But I'll give you the question, and then we'll go from there. Is the PGA missing it by not figuring out how to bring the game back together?
The PGA, as in the PGA Tour.
The PGA Tour and the Live Tour is the game and the governing bodies that look after the professional game right now by not figuring this out. How big of a problem are we left with? And to add to that question, I want to add in social media, the Myrtle Beach tournament that's gone on. I definitely want to talk about what happened at Sawgrass, the creators being in that as well. I think that's a good question. That you're both off the hooks now for your questions. I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, mate. Well, I think, you probably don't need to be very intelligent to say that, yeah, it's not great for the game, what's happened. Well, you could actually argue that in both ways. At the moment, it's fractured. You've got different people playing in different places all of the time. Commercially, the players have never been wealthier across all tours. So, in that sense, it's a good thing for them, selfishly. But actually, for the everyday fan, it's not been great. I mean, viewerships are largely they're not growing at the same pace that the population of golfers are actually growing. So I do think that is a very difficult question to answer in a way, because it's quite a balanced response that is required. So it depends on which lens you're looking through as to who it benefits. Does it benefit the PGA Tour? No. Does it benefit the PGA Tour players? Yes. Does it benefit Live? Not really. Does it benefit the players? Massively. So there's a lot that's different depending on who it benefits and who it doesn't benefit. But I think when I'm looking at it through the lens of a golf fan, it's definitely elevated the majors. The majors are much, much more of a spectacle than they were before, and they were pretty good before. So, but now the best players are all together for 4 tournaments a year. For me, I really enjoy watching the majors more than I have done for several years, because that they're together. But does that also then start to showcase, and I don't know, this is maybe a question for you, Bubs, as well. Like, I actually think that the schedules in the PGA Tour and the European Tour schedules, they're oversaturated. There's too many events. The problem is that they're measured on 2 things. One is create playing opportunities for their members, which means more events. And 2, driving up prize money, which also means more events. So actually, are we improving the game? Not really. We're just trying to make tour players richer, which is not always great. And then you go back to that sort of creator economy type of situation where you've got these different events that the creators are playing in. What was that now? You remember, Bubs? Is it Wesley Bryan? So he's obviously PGA Tour member, and then played in the duels with Liv, and then he's got suspended from PGA Tour. It's not even a competing event.
I know.
How does that work?
It's just not a good look, is it?
It's not a good look, no. And I do think there needs to be much stronger leadership. And what I mean is not strong in terms of hostile or posturing. I'm talking about be seen to be collaborative.
Yeah.
Let's find a way to work together. And I think the majors have probably set the tone by now starting to create exemptions for Live players, which is probably the right thing to do.
Talking about working together, this place is ridiculous. There's a workspace out there that there's a lot of characters in there getting their day kicked off, multiple simulators, albeit, which I'm a little disappointed to see that people are only using the office space and the simulators aren't being used yet. But Bermuda Club, as I spoke about at the top of this thing, it's legit. We've got NBA Jam behind us. We've got Asteroids. We've got Golden Tee. We've got Donkey Kong. Me and Dazzler might have a little afternoon on that in a minute.
Yeah. And they got those, what do they call those things you dunk in the cold water? What's it called?
Yeah, cold plunge
Cold
and then
plunge.
a recovery room as well. So for people like yourself, mate, if you come here, you would use them. Me and Dazzler don't.
Yeah. I don't think the cold plunges of the people who've been playing Donkey Kong though. I think they're for the true athletes, aren't they?
Did you guys cover when I was absent from this podcast, which I think has never happened in dope stroke history? Just take a little break there. Did you guys cover the creators and how the tour are using that? And are they missing the boat with that, or do you think they're nailing it?
We didn't quite go into as much detail while you're away there, but are they nailing it? They're obviously learning lessons. So, and like anything that's new, you've got to make a few mistakes. which I think that they've probably made, but they've also done a few things that are good. So overall, I think they're trying to find a way. They're trying to find a pathway. My argument would be, should it be the PGA Tour that leads this, or could it be something else? Could it be someone else that leads that charge? What happens if all of the creators club together and do something together without the PGA Tour? Is that good? Is it bad? I don't know.
I think what we've seen in the last, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 years is that there's so many different ways to consume golf now. Like, it used to be PGA Tour, European Tour was your golf fix, but now, people are watching golf on social media and people are watching YouTube and they're watching people like Rick and Pete and Grant. And I don't think, if you're the PGA Tour, you can't just be blinkered to that and just carry on doing your own thing. You've got to accept that a lot of the people that you want to watch your event are watching those other channels. And so to, in some way, bring them in and work with them is smart for me. I'm not 100% sure they're doing it the right way, but they're trying, and I think that's good. Whether Liv has played its role in that, whether it's kind of contributed to that, I think maybe. But it definitely feels like things are changing. They're doing the right kind of thing by exploring different avenues. I just like, to me, it's so weird at the moment, because we talk about the game being fractured, but it's been fractured for a while for me, because what you said there, Dazzler, about the PGA Tour being saturated, we've got these different tours, but to me, we had that in the past, and it wasn't advertised. But if I'd have said to you in 2020, before Liv existed, okay, what's the field like at the Arnold Palmer Invitational? And what's it like at the Barracuda Championship? You could have told me, yeah, there's going to be no one I want to watch at the Barracuda Championship, and the field's going to be strong at the Arnold Palmer. So that divide, that split was already there. You could have looked through the schedule and gone, I'm not bothered about those tournaments. These are the ones I want to follow. So it was already split. It all came under the same umbrella, when the reality is the product that they were pushing was very different throughout the season.
But now they've got like Horvat playing in the Barracuda, or certainly pushing to do it. I mean, to me, that brings good eyes onto that tournament.
Oh, 100%.
The sponsors have got to make their cash back. That's where this all sits as it gets into a business.
But I do think, though, it depends a bit on, like, what's the purpose? Eyeballs, I get it, and the advertising side, I get it. But if you start creating, like, creator-specific events, there's people in there that have big followings, that, have people really interested in what they're saying, but they might not be as good of a golfer as the next person. So is it an actual tournament? Is it a format that can bring everybody in? I don't know, because I feel like I see these events, I'm going, well, what's the reason for this? What's the main purpose? How is this really helping the sponsors? Yes, you might get a few eyeballs to see a logo, but the logo is not sponsorship in itself. There's so many variables and so many moving parts to that. I just feel like the formula still needs to be worked out. So I do like the idea that they're trying new things, but I don't feel like the end product is anywhere near there yet.
No, but you're obviously a businessman, Daryl. You're the most clued up out of all of us in terms of business. Let's say there's not, but let's say they had 52 tournaments a year, one a week. I know there's not, but let's say they have. We know, based on the PGA Tour schedule, you're going to get a handful of those really strong fields, best golfers in the world are playing, and you get some of those where the field's weak and a lot of people aren't interested. If you run a shop and you've got 52 products in your shop and you are selling 20 of those products at a really high price, and you can't sell them quick enough, and you got another 25 products that you can't shift, why would you keep stocking those? Why would you not just go, they're just not working for me? Let's get rid of those, and let's put all my focus on these bigger events. Like, I don't understand why they've got these small events with smaller fields that they're putting time and effort into, because I don't want to watch those. There must be other people like me. There must be hardcore fans who will just watch all golf tournaments. But it comes a point where you go, like, give me 20 events. That's all I need. 20 events that are really high profile. Get your Grant Horvats in. Make them huge events, and just bin the other ones, because I don't need them.
Why do you have Division 3 in the Football League then?
Yeah, but you could also argue, if you're Liverpool Football Club, you're entering 4 competitions a year. So why can't there still be a relatively full schedule, but each one means something different?
Yeah. But those 20 events you lose, drop them down a league. You have somewhere between the Corn Ferry and the PGA Tour. You still have them, but they're not the same product. What I find with the PGA Tour is, if you think of the events as a product, so different across the year.
Yeah.
So different. Formula
You're a
One.
decent taller, then you base your schedule on that.
Exactly.
There are tiers within professional golf. And honestly, I think that the PGA Tour is obviously the Premier League. Now the Live would arguably be the Championship, if just because it doesn't have the eyeballs on it, you know. And then you drop down. I hate to see it, but in our lifetime, the European Tour has gone from being the Championship to it's down there now. It's not.
Yeah.
It's nothing like what it was. And the only time they get a Rolex Series event, well, that's like a big FA Cup game. That's basically where we've landed right now. I think it's a debate and a topic of conversation that you can go on and on and on about. But truth be told, I'm going to go and play golf.
Let me just ask you. I've got a quick question to ask you both of you before you end up $400 down. So recently, a few weeks ago, Scotty Scheffler overtook DJ for weeks at number one. He's now 138 weeks at number one. And there's only two people above him, Greg Norman, 331, T-Dubs, 683. Now, I don't see Scotty Scheffler slowing down. How far can he go? Because he's just come off a win.
What was the gap between him and Norman?
So Scotty Scheffler is now 138 weeks. Norman is 331.
So that.
But hang on, this is really interesting because the competition has got softer because Rahm has gone to play elsewhere, because Dustin's gone to play elsewhere, because Neiman, not quite the same league, but he would have won an event for sure. So, yeah, he's going to overtake Norman. But it's got to be consecutive weeks or can drop out and come back.
Yes, total weeks.
He'll overtake Norman then.
But to reach Tiger, he's be number one for like 10 years.
Yeah.
10 more years than it is now. Like, that's how far away he is, right?
Yeah.
So Tiger would be a hell of a milestone. So I can definitely see the Greg Norman thing, but I actually think McIlroy keeps his trajectory going.
Yeah, he'll have that spot for a while, for sure, at some point.
Yeah.
McIlroy's on 122.
McIlroy's 122 weeks.
And what's Scotty at?
138.
138.
Yeah.
It's going to be close. The problem that you're going to have, because they're so close in terms of standard, they're going to swap and change. To have enough time in a dominant position is unlikely. So I don't think that they'll reach Tiger. I do think that Greg Norman is touch and go. I think it's possible, but I think it's touch and go because I think Scheffler and McIlroy and there'll probably be someone else that emerges that'll just disrupt that on a continuous basis. That's what I think.
I just think he's probably the first person I've seen in the last 10, 15 years. Like, Rory's obviously what Rory does, but I just think the way he plays, like, he seems to play in such a way that he just avoids trouble. Like, and I think when I zoom out and look at Tiger's career, that's what I felt he did better than anybody. Yes, he'd obviously throw some birds, some eagles in there, but he'd just play so smart. And I just feel like Scotty's the first person that's done that. Sorry?
He had 5 things, didn't he? No hazards, no 3 putts, no double bogeys, no missing green from 100, no bogeys from 150 or whatever. They were the rules.
Yeah.
I mean, we were with Dean yesterday, former tour player, and he was like, he played by those rules.
Yeah. It's just interesting. I just look at Scotty and I just think he's probably the first person that's come along that I think plays the kind of golf that could be sustainable for the next 10 years or so. Yeah.
No, look, it's good. And because we've nearly got through a podcast without me mentioning much about data.
Well done, mate.
I'll just say his data's good too.
I think, if we're about to finish, can we get the jingle at the end as well?
No worries, we'll give you that jingle whenever you need it.
I think every podcast now needs to start with that jingle and then Daryl going, "Hi, this is Daryl, how can I help you?"
100%. Well, that's it. It's another wrap on the Dope Stroke podcast. We're back for series 3. Join us next week, right? What have we got? Have you got? Can you sprinkle in anything we've got lined up?
No. We'll just keep it out in the ether and see where we go.
How would you end it?
PGA Championship.
PGA Championship predictions. Actually, yes, we do need to talk about that. We have a splash contest coming, much like we ran for the Masters. That will be happening for PGA Championship. So get your Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy bets in there instantly. But that is coming. Well done, Mr. Chris Ryan. How would you finish these phone calls when you were in the customer service section of the De Vere Belfry at the time?
Well, I'm obviously...
No.
I'm a
Take
business,
it away. Take it away.
I'm a business guy. I would like your MasterCard or Amex number, please. And I'd punch that in and I'd say, great, thank you for your business. See you in 3 weeks. Bye!